Um, okay, so thank you guys so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. This is a program that I am very, very much so looking forward to because it is a perspective that we don't often hear. And, you know, I'm looking forward to what our panelists have to share on a topic that is incredibly important. Thank you so much to Brother Saleh for agreeing to do this for us. And before we really get started, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure at least some of you know, but Brother Saleh Abdul Jabbar is the son of beloved marhum Brother Hussein Abdul Jabbar. He was formerly incarcerated for 28 years in various state prisons throughout Maryland. And while incarcerated, he studied religious topics, including Tawheed, Ibadah, Adab, etc. Brother Saleh went on to become an imam in 2017 until his release. While incarcerated in Jessup Correctional Facility, he founded 2 community initiatives aimed at guiding and reforming his brothers and fellow convicts, and the 4 Muslim youth, and for the Muslim youth that was geared towards character building and violence de-escalation. Brother Saleh is now a public speaker, a rising nano-digital influencer pursuing his motivational speaking career with videos that combat recidivism for at-risk youth. I'm very excited to hear from you, Brother Saleh. And first, we're just going to start with sort of any thoughts, comments you have generally about what it was like to be observing Ramadan while incarcerated. So over to you, inshallah.
I'm in the process of just getting myself situated. I was in the car. So once I get myself situated and sit down, I can continue. Hold on. Alhamdulillah. Bismillah. Wassalat wassalam ala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ونعوذ بالله من النار. So alhamdulillah, I really don't have any questions for the panel per se at this time, but I wanted to just outline to the people what my topic and what my subject is going to be on. I was asked to speak on the Ramadan while incarcerated, and bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, I had an opportunity to, bear witness to. Hold on. Back it up. So I had an opportunity to be the imam in the institution. So when Ramadan would come down, it was something that we had to almost clear. But first we had to get it clear by the institution. So the institution, before the sighting of the moon, the institution, meaning the warden, the security chief, the assistant warden, and various other captains and majors will come into a setting that will have all of the religious organizations there present. You have the Sunni community, you have the Moorish Science Temple of America, and you have another Moorish Science group called the Resurrection, and you also have the Nation of Islam. So all of those different groups will come because they're under the banner of Islam, irregardless of what ideological differences we may have in our practice of Islam, where they were under the administration eyesight, they were under the banner of Islam. So they participated in the month. However, what I believe, what I found to be very alhamdulillah, very, 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 very merciful from Allah, is that the only one that they would listen to, the administration, would be the imam who represented the Sunni community. When we went into the actual meeting, they would say, Imam, what are we going to do? And it was the job of the Imam to set the course for the month and things like that. But everybody had their own, own kitchen workers or own workers that they're gonna have and different various things to do it, because it's a teachable moment. That month is definitely utilized as a teachable moment. So after we get it clear with the administration, then we have to do another thing. We have to go to the various gangs, because we have it's a social structure in prison. So you have different gangs. You have the Bloods, you got the Crips, you got the BGF, you had another gang called DMI, which was Dead Man Walking, which were predominantly whiter inmates who, came together just to protect themselves, because you're in a place where the propensity for violence is great. So sometimes you come together. Some people may even look at it as the Muslims, coming together. But, we coming together under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that was the difference, in some situations. So once we sit down with them and we kind of get on course and ask them to basically, cut down the violence or things that could potentially happen that month, so we can have a peaceful fast. So we can have a fast without, interruptions. We can have a peaceful fast. So, just to give light to what type of environment I was in. Funny story. I had to go meet a high-ranking gang official. They call him, the big homie. So I went to one guy and I was like, can I, need to talk to, y'all leaders so we can get everything straight. So he told me to go to the gym. So once I went in the gym, I actually seen a correctional officer there. So I'm looking around, and the brother that's with me looking around, because we know in our mind we can't be going to talk to the very person who's placed in the job to protect us about something. So, a gang, but he was actually the gang leader. So he gave me a look and he said, y'all okay for this month? So mashallah. And that was just a glimpse of what type of environment that we were in, where the police, the very people who had to protect us, were involved heavily in the violence and the corruption and the things that were going on in this particular institution. So we got the clearance from them, and we were all working in concert to let the inmate population, the brothers who wanted to practice Ramadan, do it freely and as peaceful as possible. So once we got those two hurdles cleared, we enter into the blessed month of Ramadan. And once we enter into the month after the moon is sighting, they will, they will hit our door early in the morning. If breakfast was at 5 o'clock, we would come out maybe 4:45, or maybe sometime sooner than that for the suhoor, right? The whole population that come out for the suhoor meal, and we'll go up there and we'll eat, and the imam will get an opportunity to address the jama'ah and let them know how the month is going to be, because there's always, it's touch and go. So we're going to have some mistakes. So we want to remind the brothers to show sabr and be patient, with the administration. Everything ain't a fight. We can talk something, or we could talk this thing through, because we all want the same goal, and that's to have a blessed Ramadan. So after we do that, then they allow us to go to the gym, and we will go there to make some tarawih, some morning prayer, and then we'll wait for the Fajr prayer to come in, and we'll make the Fajr prayer. And when I first became the imam, I wanted to share this because I think it was another very monumental point of my growth and development, and just seeing Islam take root in such an environment like that. When we started to make the tarawih, the morning prayer, we would have like various groups on the sideline. And they were just ignorant, like a lot of us. They just didn't know no better. So the recitation of the Quran will be going on. They be talking. Some even laughing, because they wasn't really using or seeing the month for the potential that the month had to offer. So we had to go through that. And I wanted to just add, just bring it to I was the imam for, after 3 years of that. When I left the prison, we had at least 4 to 5 ranks of brothers who were praying the Tarawih. It was no longer and that's the Quran wasn't revealed at one time. Allah did it in stages. So to see the stages of growth and development from some of those young brothers who matured in that atmosphere and got to the point where they were respecting the word of Allah, where the Tarawih and those type of prayers meant something to them, I thought that was a Allahu Akbar. That was a very miraculous thing to have witnessed. So once we do that, we go throughout our day fasting. And it's kind of hard because, you know, we're inside of a cramped up environment. We are inside of 8x10 cells, and it could be some Ramadans, it was hot and the cells could be hot. So you in there trying to fast, and you got some brothers, and I always tip my hats on. I just wasn't one of those brothers. They could go out there and run the yard and lift weights and still fast. That just wasn't me. If you know, every sweat and every breath was accounted for with me. I try to keep everything in order because I knew when 7:30 or 6:45 come, you get them rumblings. You only do that, you get a little tired too. So mashallah. Other people, I wanted to ask you, inshallah, just take a pause, if you can provide us with the link, because other people are trying to join the link. Mm-hmm. So if you can provide with the link, what you got? You got a number? Okay.
She can send it. Can she send text it to me?
Can you text it to a number at this time, or can you text the link to a number?
I can put it in the chat if that will be.
He can put it.
Yeah, it's in the chat. So.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, y'all.
No problem. While that is being worked on, I wanted to say also that we're joined by Brother Yvonne Wally Curtis, who recently returned to society after being incarcerated at Dorsey Run Correctional Facility. And he was also an imam there and the librarian. And he used the job to assign motivational tools to spread Islam and project a positive role model to other inmates. And he's currently released and pursuing various goals. Thank you so much for joining us as well.
Oh, thank you. No problem. No problem. How y'all doing?
Good. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you. I wanted to know, like, can you share your perspective on what it was like as an inmate, specifically observing this holy month?
Very difficult. I would say that while you're incarcerated, you don't get a chance to, especially at that level. Most of the people that's coming in and out of prison have a very short term, so there's no structure there.
Yeah.
So you have people that's coming in that's young, that have problems with fasting in itself. The administration doesn't respect it. The Ramadan, they do give you a little, they do give you a place to pray to break the fast. Administration will give you the bare minimum, but it's definitely difficult. It's definitely difficult.
Yeah, I mean, in researching for this, I was reading about heartbreaking stories, inmates only getting access to cold food or scraps from the kitchen. There was one story where the inmate was actually praying, and the person handing out the food just went and told the person in charge, like, oh, he refused his food, so his food went to somebody else, and he didn't get to break his fast until like literally he broke his fast with suhoor, which is horrible and heartbreaking.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
No, I was gonna say,
with
is
the
that
fasting, with breaking of the fast up there, well, what they do is in Dorsey Run, they well, the imam during that time, which was me, I would go to the chaplain, and the chaplain would they wouldn't have it. Whatever was served for lunch, if it was cold, you can have that, and on top of dinner. So what they would do is they would combine it into the breaking of the fast, and then they would give you your plate or your tray. Then you will go to the kitchen, and in the kitchen, where you have to sweep, and of course, if they didn't sweep, you have to sweep, break your pray, and then you eat your food there. But if you didn't get the lunch, then you would at least have maybe sometimes double portions of the dinner. But you didn't. They didn't give us anything special. They did just give us chicken when every once in a while, once a week. But yeah, it was no scraps. I can't say that about them, but they definitely didn't do anything. They did allow the Muslims to cook their own food. If you wanted to assign 10 Muslims that already worked inside of the facility as cooking, or was assigned to that job detail, then you can get them to cook it. But most of the time we served ourselves. So inshallah, we did have that kind of benefit there. And then they did give us whatever was left over. So I'm not going to take that away from them. But
what was suhoor time like?
Well, I'm gonna say just like I say in Dorsey Run and the other camp that I was in before, it was different from the compound, or what I would say where Saudi was at, because there was structure. So a lot of the Muslims that was on the compound where people had a lot of time, they had things that was organized. There you didn't have organization because the imam would probably only be there with a year or so. So they kept people stepped up, or whomever they thought that was knowledgeable during that time. I just happened to be there for a few years, and had a great rapport with the administration at the present time, and I can get whatever I had to get done. But it was just the first time, it was pretty much the same thing. It was just difficult because of the non-structure. They didn't have the food. They didn't give us the dates, things of that nature that they said that they was going to do, the promises that they would get. They wouldn't let anybody donate anything to you. So even if you did have the money, or you wanted to provide yourself with some dates, you couldn't provide yourself with the dates. Or people wanted to donate rubs, they didn't let us donate. So it was definitely a change where we on a compound or on medium security or maximum security, where they would let that thing go.
Brother Saleh, what was suhoor time like for you, would you say?
Well, again, like in a maximum security prison, the administration had a lot more to be concerned about, because you're dealing with a different psychology. Yeah. Whereas you got a guy who going to in the camp system, and I made it down there to that system with the brother Avon, brother Wali, and the brothers down there. So it was just a different mentality. So for us, they tried to make it as comfortable as possible, so they wouldn't have to deal with those rowdy inmates who felt like their rights wasn't being observed in a proper way. So for us it was a lot more uniformed and more together, so and that was something that always laid over here with the administration, but also with us. It was just, we expected more from the administration due to our circumstances. So for us was pretty good. Alhamdulillah. It was, it had its moments in the beginning, but it got better as the time went along. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Here's something that I didn't, I'm kind of embarrassed to say I didn't think about before kind of doing research for this. Timekeeping seems to be a major problem for inmates as well, because a lot of the time, like, you're not allowed to have things like watches, and even if they do have things like alarm clocks or things of that nature for sale, like, it's not always affordable. Is that reminiscent of your experience in any way, either of you?
Or not?
Well,
go ahead.
Well, with the time in Dorsey Run, we were pretty much they did have big clocks on the wall. Okay. So they did with the administration, about 45 minutes to an hour beforehand, they did first call from Ramadan, so you can set up just as much as they did like Jumu'ah. So they didn't give us a difficult problem with that. Sometimes what happened is that the people that were coming, so that's what really that wasn't non-Muslim used to come in and mess it up for us. That was the challenge. So we had a piece of paper which we checked everybody off, names off, and then if they felt as though that we couldn't do it, then they would step in and try to do it themselves. Where they take people IDs and make sure that you was Muslim, and then come in here so you wouldn't be basically getting more food or doing things illegal. So the time was pretty much still structured around them.
Okay.
Yeah, similar to what the brother said. We had, clocks and things on the wall and different devices. Time was very important, for us, because, we wanted to make the salah on time, and everything has to be done in a timely fashion, because, you got officers who are working overtime to accommodate us for that particular month. So we don't want to be a burden on them. So we try to get everything done and in a very uniform time, so that the month can be going on as smooth as possible. But we had to be aware of the time because it was very important in light of the place that we was in. Very important.
Yeah. Also, talk to me a little bit about your mental health in this space, right? Because definitionally, right, prison is pretty isolating, right? But also in that space, your Ramadan is also isolating, right? Whether you're, in that space or not, it can be. So what was it like for you to be in that space while also observing Ramadan?
Well, for me, to touch on the issue of mental health, that's a very important subject matter, especially in prison. I myself, I've seen, people that I once, had respect for. I've seen the time literally drive them crazy. I was next door to a man who committed suicide. He hung himself, and when they brought his body out of the cell, he was laying there, but his body didn't turn. I mean, I could visibly see this. And I was maybe 20, 24 years old, and I was on administration admit. I was on segregation. So those type of things happen, and there's programs set up to address it, but not really programs set up to combat it, because a lot of the mental health in prison has a stripe with drugs and drug abuse.
Yeah.
And that's something that's allowed to flow freely inside of those institutions. I mean, the brother can't tell. We had a major drug problem within the Muslim community, a major drug problem. We had the buying, the selling, the consumption of it. So it's a major drug problem, but it all ties into mental health, because a lot of people, they can't fathom. Even myself, when a judge gave me 50 years. I was 18 years old. And when a judge sentenced me to 50 years, the first thing I said was, how do I do that? That's trauma for an 18-year-old young man to try to wrap his mind around 50 years in prison. So then you go to prison, and some of the things that you face with, you're being called an inmate constantly. One of the things that I had to do, one of the things that I didn't know prison took from me until I got home, was my confidence. You should be reminded every day with beautiful terms of endearment. Beautiful terms, you're smart, things like that. But you're in an environment where you're constantly told bad things about you. This also adds to a mental health issue. So I mean, it's a very important issue. And like I said, for brothers who are incarcerated now, get the help you can get while you're in there. And when you come home, you got to get more help. You got to get more help, because we're more programmed than what we want to admit. We're programmed. And some of these program situations that we find ourselves to, job readiness, job placement, learning how to use the phone. Me and the brother was going back and forth. We was trying to figure out how do we even get on a Zoom call, right? So all of these things are very challenging, and things that we must give our attention to if we want to be successful. If we want to be successful in our new journeys in life, inshallah.
Brother Yvonne, what about you?
Mentally in there, I would say I had a fight within myself, because one of the reasons I felt like, Ramadan, I had many I had experiences outside, so I knew that I was being robbed of the things that I knew that they can at least provide me with. So I had it bad, and Saudi probably could tell you the same. I was very combative of what was going on. Mentally, I definitely be frustrated, especially when I'm supposed to know. I know that you can give me what I'm supposed to get, and during that time. So this is a very special month for me. I try to do what I can do, and like you said, is coming home to it. It definitely know. I definitely know the difference. So mentally, yes, it bothered me a lot. Not only during the month of Ramadan, during the whole incarceration time. So, I'm trying to get adjusted, just like you say, like getting on Zoom. I don't know. If it ain't no basic texting or basic just answering the phone, I don't know how to do two things at once. You know, I don't know how to do with the person that have never been incarcerated. My 8-year-old niece know how to do more on the phone than I do, and you know, it's like like your confidence is definitely being challenged out here, but it'll come along with patience, inshallah ta'ala.
How do you create a sense of community in prison? And how do you create a sense of community in that space? Because like you mentioned, it's not just you, right? There are other Muslims who are also incarcerated with you. So what do you do? Because at the end of the day, Ramadan is still, you know, it's a very personal experience, but at the same time, it's a very communal experience. So how do you go about that?
Well, getting back to pieces of what I was trying to say in regards to the story. The administration, they set up a month in which brothers can come together and grow together. We can make all our salah together, right? So at 4:00 when the doors hit, they allow us to come up. We make asr in congregation. Then after that, we allow some brothers, whoever want to go back. There's 2 breaks. You can go back or you can stay in class. And we have this class instruction where we have one brother teaching Arabic, we have another brother teaching basic tafsir, and we have another brother teaching something from hadith or usul al-thalatha, the 3 fundamental principles. And then after that, you will see that, you know, some brothers come up there with bags of peanuts, and some brothers may have come up there with different various things, and you will see the brotherhood. You'll see brothers sharing, right? You'll see brothers being concerned that their other brother might not have a cup of water. I mean, you got young brothers going around who were probably once fighting each other in the prison, getting each other water. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed for that month for things like that to take place. People who were enemies, who probably a month ago wanted to stab one another, but now the month has brought their hearts together. Right. So when you working in such I used to always tell the brothers, we're already in a tight situation. Why add being rude to it? Let's be brothers. Let's be brothers. Let's not be afraid to love one another, give the salams to one another, show concern to one another, be responsible for one another. So, you know, you find those relationships and those things that you can work within that space. And, you know, however small or big it is, you find a way to make it work in that space.
Brother Yvonne, what about you?
And like I say, because of the transition that it was that people were in, 90 days, maybe 60 days, it was kind of like total opposite. So you had people that we couldn't really get a curriculum going because, you know, the person that was there last week may not be there. You may have a whole brand new group in 30 days. So, you know, it was kind of a challenge for you to put something together and be able to even get through even the month of Ramadan. A lot of them was already separated. Can't really tell a person, a lot of bickering going on. And like I say, it's totally different. It's like you can call them to what's correct and you can show them what was going on, but they're not going to do it if they don't have to. You know, people get separated. Half of the people go out that's on the tier. They may go out and break their fast together. When they come back, then the backbiting and the fighting start. So a lot of it was separated from a person that had 50 years from a person that had 4 years and say, I'm ready to go home next month. I don't care. I don't know y'all. So the attitude itself was totally different. So I didn't have a lot of resources from strong brothers that had 20 years, because when they did come in, they might have not wanted to be bothered because of the community. You know, Saudi came in at the end, and that was a great thing, because I was tired at that point. I said, you have to become the imam, or it's just I needed some help. You know, I didn't have no help, so I assisted him, and we tried to do the best we can. He taught the classes, and he can even verify that the guys it might be 2 weeks in the class, and he kept a lot of people in there, alhamdulillah. But other than that, it's difficult. If you don't have the right teacher, they just looking for one excuse, Ramadan, and they'll do what they want to. So it was definitely a challenge, mental challenge, and for the most part.
Interesting. I feel like I could talk to you guys about this all day, but I'm seeing a question now. Did non-Muslims ever participate in any of this with you guys? Because right now it's very on trend for a non-Muslim friend to fast for a day or 5 days. Did you have any of that?
Well, where he was at, he couldn't be on the list. He can fast freely as he wanted to, but he cannot. The chaplain wouldn't even allow it. But no, not in a community, because it's a lot of gang members that was in there that was trying to bring harm to the Muslims. So
Okay.
the screening is totally different. Whereas though you might go in a masjid, you're not going to ask who the brother to your right or your left or in front or the back of you.
Yeah.
In prison, somebody might have had some kind of conflict on the street or even in jail, and they might try to bring you a move. So
Yeah.
you don't want to be in a situation where they're going to be, because one incident, the whole gathering is shut down for
Right.
them. So
Yeah.
they're looking for an excuse to shut you down anyway.
Yeah.
So we didn't have non-Muslims praying with us,
Mhm.
or breaking the fast with us. Now, if they decided to fast freely, then they would have to go. Most of them went to the Nation of Islam or such things, or they didn't break it with us though.
Okay. Another question, how was access to healthcare in the facilities you were in, especially given that Ramadan can, the fasting can trigger health issues, underlying health issues.
Well, the healthcare in itself,
No, I was the building rep for 3 years. So that responsibility entailed that we, again, we went to the administration, but this time we went with the general concerns from the inmate population. And medical was always an issue because, they have you sitting in that one little bullpen for hours on hours, and you really got a problem, you know what I'm saying? And they give you a motion or something like that, tell you go back to your unit. It was inadequate. It was inadequate. It was not a facility or a place where they could really address no real medical needs. The first thing there was an aspirin or a Motrin, and they send you back to your cell. I met brothers who went up there who were sick. One brother was diagnosed with cancer, and they kept sending them back. So and it's not really designed for, a lot of money is not going toward our healthcare. They put money toward other things that want to benefit them.
Yeah.
In fact, their pocket, but it's not going toward the population.
Yeah.
Healthcare, getting programs for the youth. Nowadays, the inmate populations in jail are teenagers. They're teenagers, and they got 80, they got 75, they got 40 years. And for a lot of them, there's no hope for them because there's no programs geared toward reforming these young men. So this healthcare and reform, it goes hand in hand. The money that they have is just not allotted for us. So healthcare and any way that we have to put our trust in them, they always let us down. So healthcare is definitely in prison. It's definitely it's very hard, very difficult to get the proper healthcare. The proper, assistance in healthcare.
Brother Yvonne, what do you think?
Yeah, especially in like I say, in healthcare, as far as like in Dorsey Run, I would actually say it's probably the worst. I mean, if you go to as far as dental, if you got a cavity, as opposed to saving it, they'll pull it. So you may go in it, they don't believe in putting cavities, and and then, I mean, unfortunately, one time I had a cavity, they cracked the teeth on one of them, and then they lied, and then, I mean, it's kind of law. I know I'm not going to say that. They started on that one and end up getting another one. So you end up getting two of them because you couldn't get to the first one. So, those are kind of incidents, and it's nobody to complain to because they're gone. The teeth is gone. If you sick of any kind, like I say, the most thing you may have getting, as far as like even for a common cold, would be an asthma. So the things that you would have like third flu and things of that nature, you wouldn't be able to have no access to. Heat exhaustion, they may give you some water. So certain things, if you break your bone, they'll put it in a sling, and 3 weeks later they'll re-break it in. So you have to you have to definitely keep your body in shape. If you don't, you're going to be in a lot of difficulties and pain.
There's a question in the chat about, the essence of Ramadan is working on yourself, right? And your flaws, rectifying those, things of that nature. Was that easier or more difficult to do as an incarcerated individual, do you think? Brother Sadia, go ahead. You can go.
Well, for me personally, and I think that's a personal question. For me personally, it really had a lot to do with my understanding, not only of the month, but my understanding of my relationship with Allah. We go to Ramadan for a lot of reasons. We do. A lot of us, we want to lose weight. Some people, Ramadan came just in time. But for me, Ramadan was a clinic. It was a clinic. I was in the trash can for 11 months. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose 1 month for you to come out of the trash can, to, rectify your affairs, do things and be in compliance with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said. And you can develop good spiritual habits that'll take you throughout the month. So for me, it was an opportunity to realign and reset myself. So you had to be very sincere about wanting to do better, wanting to do better, to be better. So personally, for me, it had its different challenges every year. Being an imam and having, to give the khutbah, to do the class, it was very stressful. Then you got situations within a month that you got to deal with, infighting between brothers. You got to make sure that the brothers are in the kitchen and they're not stealing. You know what I mean? Because they gave us the kitchen. We got our own cooks. Muslims are cooking for Muslims. We have the institution for 30 days. So it could be very stressful trying to manage and micromanage those things. So a lot of times I wasn't able to read as much Quran as I may have wanted to read during that month because I'm tired. And I got to get back up at 4 o'clock to make sure the brothers on lockup are eating. And that's a whole nother, fitna for the brothers who are locked behind a door 23 in a day. They get 20 to sell 23 hours and they get 1 hour of rec. And they fasting the month of Ramadan. So we gotta go down there and make sure those brothers eat as well. So for me, the challenges were different every year. So some years I didn't really get accomplished what I wanted to accomplish spiritually, but I just hope I did enough deeds that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would accept them. I tried to stay busy certain months. Certain months I delegated and I gave more responsibilities to brothers so that I could sit back and enjoy that type of reflection. And so it was always different for me from month to month and year to year during the month of Ramadan.
Yes, I think that I get, like I said, a lot of the times that the brothers would come in mentally, I disconnected myself from the fitna. So, I didn't have I had a problem during the month itself when people would mess it up for everybody else, what I would say. During the time before the COVID hit, the kitchen was open. So they may go down there and then the administration would come and accuse us of stealing, So my discussions with the person who I had to deal with, but other than that, no. My mental state and it's definitely challenging. Is like he said, I didn't have people to worry about on lockup and things of that nature, but it was just definitely more condensed of people. You're building amirs, they may come to you with issues, and a lot of it they should be putting away or shelving, as I would say, during this month so they can get some rewards. But that's not where they at. Like you said, they kids. They 19, they 21, they 25. And a lot of them are going right back out. Some of them are catching some time and going where the maximum security, but they really don't care for it. So, the mental state or the disconnection came with that. So I didn't put a lot of energy into a lot of Muslims that was there. Alhamdulillah, I meet some good ones and we can connect. If not, then I don't know how you would react when I'm on the street. I know how you act now because this is where we at. But when we go home, you're a totally different person. So, I didn't put a lot of energy into people or brothers while I was incarcerated. I wasn't there to meet a lot of friends. I was just there to do my time, be Muslim, and stay out of trouble. That's the best I did.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
I know I can talk to you guys all day, literally, but we have to get to iftar and other things. Final question. What was Eid like for you? Brother Saad, if we can start with you.
Sorry.
Oh,
Oh, you said
alhamdulillah,
me?
it was beautiful. Of course, it marked the final. Of course, I'm not. I think she said I would go first on this question, Avon. Then I'll pass it right to you, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so yeah, it was good. Alhamdulillah, it marked the final day of Ramadan, and everybody came out, so they allow us to get, jalabis and things like that. So it was an opportunity for us to go out and buy our jalabis and wear them for the Eid and be nice. And everybody took their showers in the morning to go and be pure for the act of ibadah. So it was always a good thing. You always seen that face of relief from the brothers, and brothers who you see the little pockets of brothers who got closer, and they'd be at the Eid prayer and they'd be praying together. And the administration will allow us, the imam and the brothers who are on the idara, on the administration, to go to a medical unit. So we'll go up to the medical unit and visit with some of the brothers that were unable to fast with us because they had medical issues. So they gave us the opportunity to go up there. You would see the smile on those brothers' faces. So it was always a good thing, man. Brothers would, at that point, once we made it to that point and we went through a good month, we didn't have no interruptions or no disturbances. Normally, when we got to that point, it was all good. And we have they allow us to have a feast. It's the regular food, but they allow us to cook it. If it would normally be baked chicken, we get to use the fries and fry it. So we have fried chicken. And that was the little feast that they'd give us, the reward that the administration would give us. And we had to be careful with that too, because you have a lot of, they'll make sure the kitchen were empty. So we only had the kitchen, but you had guys who knew that the Muslims were going to eat, and they'd come up there and try to get trays, and we'll make sure the Muslims were fed first. Once they were fed, then we'll give them food, and we'll give the gang members who worked with us and helped us have a good month. We will always also make trays for them and send them back trays and stuff like that, so they can enjoy some of the, just the good decision of working with us. So we'll send them stuff back as well. But the Eid was always a good thing and a good event, man. I always look forward to it with the brothers.
Ravon, was it the same for you?
No, not at all. Hold on, real quick. I'm trying to disconnect something real quick. Just give me 1 second. Get this on. All right. Give me a couple seconds. I'll break it. But no, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. Inshallah. I mean, the it was totally different. The people that did fast during the month of Ramadan, they just let us for the prayer. That was it. It might have came out a little early, and that was it. It was totally different. Totally different. It wasn't nothing else. Unfortunately, like I say, the turnover is so quickly that they don't really care.
Yeah, there's not as much emphasis on it, because that person might be gone tomorrow, right? Then it's just you. Thank you both so much. This has been such an illuminating discussion. I know for myself and the comments that I'm seeing in the chat that people are sending to me. I do hope that you guys are down for a part 2, because I would absolutely love to continue this conversation in light of other things. The theme that came up was how are you rebranding yourself? How are you dealing with being out of prison, for example, after being in for so many years? And I would love to talk about that as well. So I hope that inshallah we can find time to do a part 2 at some point. Thank you for taking the time to do this, the energy to do this. I know it's not easy to talk about experiences such as this, but we really, really, really do appreciate it. And thank you guys also for joining and being respectful in the chat as well. We really appreciate it. We hope that when there is a part 2, you will join us as well, inshallah. So With that, have a great night, everybody. And
All right.
yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
To everyone.
assalam.